Cowboy saw his neighbor leave a mail-order bride at the gate. He welcomed her and found true love. The sun was setting over the vast plains of the frontier planet Arden 7, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Dust swirled in the warm wind, carrying the faint scent of dry earth and wild grasses. Jace Merrick, a tall and rugged man with hands calloused from years of hard labor, rode slowly along the edge of his property. His horse, Rust, walked steadily beside him, ears twitching at every sound. Jace had lived on this land for more than a decade, and he knew every curve of the hills, every hidden water spring, every patch of wild herbs that grew near the rocks. Life here was quiet, sometimes too quiet, but it was honest work, and Jace liked it that way. As he approached the northern gate of his property, something unusual caught his eye. A woman was standing there alone, carrying a small bag. She looked out of place under the wide sky and the dusty plains, her clothes neat and unfamiliar, almost too clean for the rugged surroundings. Jace squinted against the sun, unsure if his tired eyes were playing tricks on him. The woman didn't notice him at first. She just stood at the gate, looking around with cautious curiosity. Jace slowed Rust to a stop, letting the horse graze while he studied her. There was something different about her, her posture, her calmness despite being in the middle of nowhere. Then Jace noticed the small sign hanging from her bag, worn and faded. Property of Vance Durock. Vance Durock was Jace's neighbor, a wealthy landowner who owned more land than most settlers on Arden 7 could dream of. Rumor had it that he had recently ordered a companion through one of the interstellar mail-order services, a practice that some settlers frowned upon, but that still happened in the more isolated parts of the galaxy. Jace's brow furrowed. Could this be the same woman? He nudged Rust forward, letting the horse trot closer. The woman finally looked up. Her eyes were bright, intelligent, and cautious. Her hair, dark and shiny, fell neatly over her shoulders. She smiled faintly when she saw Jace approaching. "Hello," Jace said, raising a hand. His voice was calm but strong, carrying across the small distance between them. "Are you lost?" The woman hesitated, then shook her head. I don't know," she admitted softly. "I was sent here. My master, he left me." Jace felt a frown deepen on his face. He had heard stories about mail-order companions, but seeing one alone on the frontier stirred something inside him. He dismounted and walked toward her, keeping his tone gentle. "You don't have to stay out here," he said. "There's water, shelter, you can rest." She looked at him uncertain, as if she wasn't used to kindness. Then she nodded slowly. "Thank you, sir. My name is Leora." Jace held out his hand. "Jace Merrick, come on, Leora, let's get you inside." As they walked to his small homestead, Leora kept glancing around nervously. Jace noticed that she wasn't just frightened. She was curious, alert, and observant. Unlike most who came from the city, she didn't look scared of hard work. She seemed ready to face whatever the frontier demanded. When they reached the wooden porch of his home, Jace led her inside. The homestead was simple: a kitchen, a living area, and a small bedroom. It wasn't luxurious, but it was clean and comfortable. Rust settled nearby, munching on the hay Jace had placed in a corner. Leora's eyes widened slightly as she looked around. "It's different," she said quietly. "I've never seen a place like this." Jace smiled faintly. "Different can be good. This land gives you freedom, but it also teaches you respect. You'll see." He poured her a glass of water, and she drank it quickly, her hands trembling just slightly. Then she sat down at the table, looking at him with a mixture of curiosity and caution. "You said your master left you," Jace asked carefully. "What happened?" Leora hesitated. "It was a mistake. The service, the people who deliver us, they sent me to the wrong place. My master didn't even want me. He just left me at your neighbor's gate and rode off." Jace frowned. He had met Durock only a few times. The man was rich but arrogant and careless. "That's not right," Jace said simply. "You shouldn't be abandoned like that, not here, not anywhere." Leora's eyes softened. I didn't know what to do. I didn't even know if anyone would help me." Jace leaned back in his chair, studying her. There was honesty in her voice, a courage he respected. Many people sent to the frontier panicked, cried, or begged to be taken back to the city. Leora hadn't. She had waited, and that took strength. "You can stay here as long as you need," Jace said. "No one's going to hurt you. You'll work if you want and we'll get by. That's all I ask." A small smile appeared on Leora's face. "Thank you, Jace," she said. I'd like that." The next morning, Jace showed Leora around the property. There were fields of hardy crops, a small orchard of alien fruits, and a water purifier system he had built himself. Leora listened carefully, asking questions about the plants, the soil, and the water system. Jace was impressed by her intelligence. She understood quickly, suggesting improvements he hadn't thought of. "You learn fast," Jace said with a grin. "Most newcomers break a tool or two in the first week." Leora laughed softly. "I've had some training. Not exactly farm training, but I know my way around machines." It wasn't long before she was helping with chores, feeding Rust, checking the water filters, and even repairing broken fences. Jace watched her work with quiet admiration. She moved with purpose and confidence, showing respect for the land and the work it demanded. By evening, the sun dipped low again, and the wind carried a chill. They sat together on the porch, watching the horizon turn shades of deep purple and gold. "You know," Leora said thoughtfully, "I didn't expect to find a place like this. I thought I'd be stuck somewhere I didn't belong, forever following someone else's orders." Jace nodded. "The frontier has a way of showing you what really matters: hard work, honesty, and courage. People like you, they belong here if they want to." Leora looked at him, her eyes reflecting the fading sunlight. "I want to learn, and I want to belong somewhere. Maybe here." Jace felt a strange warmth in his chest. He wasn't used to feeling this way about anyone. Life on Arden 7 had been lonely, but seeing Leora adapt, survive, and even smile, it stirred something inside him he hadn't felt in years. Over the next few days, they worked together, talking and sharing stories. Leora told him about the cities she had left behind, about the machines and technologies she had worked with. Jace told her about life on the frontier, about storms that tore across the plains, about nights so quiet that the stars seemed close enough to touch. Their friendship grew quickly, built on mutual respect, trust, and a quiet admiration for each other's strengths. Leora was clever and resourceful. Jace was strong and fearless. Together, they balanced each other. One night, a distant rumble woke them. At first, they thought it was the wind, but the sound grew louder, metal clanging on metal, approaching rapidly. Jace grabbed a lantern and looked toward the horizon. A small transport ship descended nearby, kicking up dust and debris. Leora's eyes widened. Who would come here?" Jace's jaw tightened. "Could be someone looking for you or trouble." They didn't know what awaited them, but they knew they would face it together. The frontier was harsh, dangerous, and unpredictable, but they were ready. And in that moment, Jace realized something powerful. For the first time in years, he didn't feel alone. The next morning, the early sun bathed Jace's homestead in golden light. The plains stretched endlessly, a tapestry of green and brown, and the wind carried the soft hum of life. Rust nickered as Jace stepped outside, and Leora was already busy tending to the small garden near the water tank. Her hands moved with careful precision as she inspected the plants, adjusting supports and checking the soil. "Good morning, Leora," Jace said, smiling. "You're up early." She looked up, brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Morning, Jace. The plants don't wait for anyone. I want to make sure everything's healthy before the sun gets too hot." Jace nodded, impressed. She was learning quickly, and not just learning. She was thinking ahead, adapting her city knowledge to the frontier land. Most newcomers would struggle, but Leora seemed determined to thrive. "All right," he said. "Today we're going to check the water systems. There's a leak in the north filter, and I need your help patching it. Then we'll reinforce the fence by the east ridge." The storms last week loosened a few posts. Leora straightened. "I can handle that. Let's get started." They worked together in harmony. Jace handled the heavier tasks, hauling equipment and securing posts, while Leora focused on precise adjustments, reading the schematics of the water purifier, and applying clever fixes that Jace would never have thought of. "You know," Jace said as he tightened a fence post, "you're a fast learner, faster than anyone I've trained out here." Leora smiled faintly, wiping sweat from her forehead. "I guess I just want to prove I can survive. I don't want to be a burden." "You're not a burden," Jace said firmly. "If anything, you make this place better, you see things differently. That matters." By noon, the sun was high and the temperature soared. Jace and Leora paused under the shade of a small rock outcrop, drinking water and watching the distant hills ripple in the heat haze. "You've never lived in a city, have you?" Leora asked, curiosity in her voice. "Not really," Jace replied. "I've been on Arden 7 most of my life. I've traveled a bit when I needed supplies, but I like it here. Quiet, simple, honest work. No machines to boss you around, no endless schedules, just the land, your hands, and what you can make of it." Leora nodded. "I understand. Back in the city, everything moved too fast. People were always in a hurry, always looking for the next thing. Here, it feels real, alive." Jace chuckled. "Alive is a good word. You'll see it more as we go. This land tests you, but it gives you back more than it takes." The afternoon was spent reinforcing the fence along the east ridge. The winds there were strong, carrying dust and sand in sharp gusts. Jace held the post steady while Leora secured the wires, her fingers steady despite the harsh conditions. "You're stronger than you look," Jace commented as he wiped his brow. Leora laughed softly. "And you're faster than you think. I didn't expect someone like you to move that quickly across the ridge." "Frontier life teaches you a few tricks," he said. "You learn fast or you don't last long." As the sun dipped toward the horizon, they finally finished the repairs. Their clothes were dusty, their skins sunburned, but a sense of accomplishment filled the air. Jace leaned on his shovel, breathing deeply. "Good work today," he said. "We make a good team," Leora smiled warmly. "I think we do." Night fell quickly on Arden 7. The sky was a canvas of stars, brighter and clearer than anything Leora had ever seen in the city. She stood on the porch, gazing up in awe. Jace joined her, offering a cup of herbal tea he had brewed from the plants in their garden. "It's beautiful," she whispered, her eyes reflecting the starlight. "The city lights hide this wonder. I've never seen so many stars." Jace nodded, his gaze steady. "The frontier has its own beauty. It's not flashy, but it's honest. You learn to respect it and it gives you back something real." They sipped their tea in silence, listening to the soft sounds of the night, the distant calls of nocturnal creatures, the rustle of the wind through the grasses, rust settling in the corral with a soft nicker. After a moment, Leora spoke. "Jace, I want to thank you for letting me stay, for trusting me. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't." Jace shrugged, trying to hide the warmth he felt. "It was the right thing to do. Anyone left out here alone, I wouldn't leave them." Her eyes met his, and for a brief moment they shared an unspoken understanding. Both had lived lives shaped by challenges, by isolation, by the need to survive, and both recognized the strength in the other. The next day brought a new challenge. While checking the outer fields, Leora spotted something unusual near the water tank. A faint trail of disturbed soil led toward the edge of the property. She followed it cautiously, signaling Jace to come. "Looks like someone or something passed through here," she said, her voice low. Jace examined the tracks carefully. "Human, not a settler we know, could be traders or worse." Leora's brow furrowed. "Should we confront them?" "We observe first," Jace said. "Better to know what we're dealing with before we act." They spent the afternoon tracking the trail, moving carefully across the plains. Leora used her knowledge of technology to scan for any devices or sensors left behind. Jace relied on instinct, reading the land, spotting footprints, and noticing subtle signs that others might miss. Hours later they found the source. A small, stranded rover, its panels scratched and wheels stuck in the soft soil. Inside, a young boy no older than 12 was struggling to keep the device running. He looked up in surprise when he saw them. Are you settlers?" he asked nervously. "Yes," Jace said gently. "We're friendly. Are you okay?" I got lost," the boy admitted. "I was supposed to meet a trade convoy, but my rover broke down. I don't know where I am." Leora knelt beside him, examining the rover. "It's damaged, but we can fix it. Don't worry." Jace's eyes met hers. She had a calm, determined presence, and he trusted her instinct. Together, they worked on the rover. Leora adjusted circuits and repaired the control panel, while Jace helped lift and maneuver the heavy equipment. By evening, the rover was operational again. The boy's eyes sparkled with relief. "Thank you. I thought I'd be stuck out here forever." Jace smiled. "You're welcome. Just remember, the frontier can be harsh. Always prepare, always be careful." As the boy drove off toward the trade route, Leora and Jace stood side by side, watching him disappear into the distance. "You know," Leora said quietly, "we make a good team. We complement each other." Jace nodded. "Yeah, I've never had someone like you by my side. You're smart, brave, and capable makes a difference." For the first time, they both realized that surviving the frontier wasn't just about skills and tools. It was about trust, partnership, and understanding. And in the shared effort, a bond was forming, deeper than either had expected. Over the next few days, life settled into a rhythm. They worked the fields, repaired fences, maintained water systems, and explored the surrounding hills. They discovered hidden springs, patches of wild berries, and secret vantage points where the stars reflected in quiet pools of water. One afternoon, Leora found an old, abandoned cabin deeper in the hills. Its walls were weathered, but inside it contained tools, old maps, and notes left by previous settlers. She called Jace, and together they explored it, finding supplies and information that would help them improve their homestead. "This is incredible," Jace said, lifting a map and studying it. "Looks like someone else lived here years ago. They even mapped the local water sources." Leora grinned. "We can use this to expand the farm. Maybe plant more crops, build more storage. We can turn this place into something bigger, better." Jace looked at her, admiration clear in his eyes. "You have a vision, that's rare. Most people just survive, you want to thrive." She smiled softly. "I want to live, not just survive. And I want to do it with people I trust like you." The sun set once more, and the horizon glowed with fiery colors. They sat together on a hill, looking at the vast plains stretching endlessly before them. For the first time, both felt a sense of belonging, not just to the land but to each other. The frontier was still harsh and full of challenges, but they had each other. And together, they were unstoppable. The morning sun rose slowly over the horizon, spilling golden light across the plains of Arden 7. Jace, Merrick, and Leora had settled into a routine over the past few weeks. Their homestead had grown stronger, fences repaired, water systems functioning perfectly, and the small garden thriving under Leora's careful hands. Russ neighed softly as Jace prepared the morning chores, while Leora checked the irrigation system. "It's quiet today," Leora said, her voice thoughtful. "Too quiet." Jace glanced toward the hills in the distance. "Quiet is good, but sometimes it's a warning. Out here, calm often comes before trouble." She nodded, understanding the tone in his voice. The frontier had a way of testing people, not just their skills, but their instincts. Jace had survived storms, wildlife, and isolation, but now, for the first time, something else loomed on the horizon: people. By midday, the distant hum of engines reached their ears. Leora pointed toward the horizon. "Do you see that?" Jace squinted. A cloud of dust was rising far off to the north. At first it could have been a storm, but the movement was too deliberate, too fast. Riders. Not on horses, but small hovering bikes, kicking up dust as they raced across the plains. "Raiders," Jace muttered under his breath. He grabbed a rifle and signaled Leora. "We need to prepare. Now." Leora's heart raced, but she did not panic. "What do we do?" "We defend," Jace said simply. "We have advantage here. Fence lines, water tanks, we can use the terrain." They moved quickly, checking the perimeter and setting up simple but effective defenses. Jace dug shallow trenches along key points near the fence, while Leora used spare metal sheets and tools to reinforce weak spots. Rust was secured in the corral, and their small homestead suddenly felt like a fortress. By late afternoon, the raiders arrived. 5 men on hover bikes armed with energy rifles circled the homestead. Their leader, a tall figure with a scar across his face, dismounted and shouted across the distance. "Step out. That land belongs to us now." Jace stepped forward, rifle in hand, his stance firm. "You want it, you'll have to take it, we don't leave." The raiders laughed, a harsh sound that carried over the plains. "A man and a woman against us. You're fools." Leora stepped beside Jace, her eyes steady. "We're not afraid, you don't know what we can do." Jace glanced at her, impressed by her courage. Even in the face of danger, she stood firm, ready to fight. He knew then that she was more than just a helper, she was his partner in every sense. The first clash began as the raiders fired, aiming to intimidate. Jace moved quickly, using the trenches for cover, returning fire carefully to disable the raiders' hover bikes without killing them. Leora had already found a small energy shield in their supply shed, a prototype device she had been tinkering with, and activated it. The shield hummed, deflecting shots and giving them critical protection. One raider attempted to flank them from the east ridge. Leora noticed him, pointing and shouting to Jace. Jace fired, disabling the bike, sending the raider tumbling to the ground. The others hesitated, realizing these weren't ordinary settlers. "You're strong," their leader yelled, frustration in his voice. "But one man can't hold us off forever." Jace's eyes narrowed. "I'm not one man, and she's not just anyone." He nodded toward Leora. She smiled faintly, activating a small drone she had repaired earlier. It zipped into the air, creating confusion among the raiders as its bright lights flashed and sensors beeped. The raiders fired wildly, some crashing their bikes in panic. Jace and Leora used the chaos to push forward, their coordination seamless. One moment, Jace blocked a shot. The next, Leora dismantled the raiders' equipment with precise strikes. Together, they turned the tide. Hours passed in a blur of movement, dust, and energy bursts. The raiders, unprepared for such clever tactics, finally retreated, leaving their bikes behind. The leader, glaring, shouted one last warning before disappearing over the ridge. Jace lowered his rifle, breathing heavily. Leora joined him, wiping sweat from her forehead. "That was close," she said. Jace nodded. "Too close, but we made it together." For the first time, they truly felt the strength of their bond. This was no longer just survival, it was trust, teamwork, and mutual respect. They had faced danger and come out stronger, side by side. That night, they reinforced the homestead further, knowing the raiders could return. Leora worked on improving the energy shield, while Jace strengthened fences and dug additional trenches. By the time they finished, the stars were bright overhead and Arden 7 was quiet once more. "Why do you stay here?" Leora asked quietly as they rested on the porch, sipping water. "You could live somewhere safer, easier." Jace looked at her, thoughtful. "This land, it challenges me, it makes me better, and I like it here. But now, having you around, it's more than that. You make it feel like home." Leora's heart skipped a beat. "I feel the same way. I didn't think I could belong anywhere but here with you." Their words hung between them, filled with unspoken emotion. The frontier was dangerous, but it was also real, alive, and full of opportunity. And together, they could face anything. The following days brought more challenges. A sudden sandstorm swept across the plains, threatening their crops and water supply. They worked tirelessly, securing equipment, covering plants, and ensuring Rust's safety. Leora's quick thinking prevented a major water shortage, rerouting pipes and sealing leaks in record time. You think too fast for your own good, Jace said, shaking his head in disbelief. And you think too slow sometimes, Leora teased. We balance each other. Their laughter echoed across the homestead, a sound rare and precious on the frontier. It was a reminder that even in hardship, life could be joyful. One evening, as they sat by the small fire pit, Jace told Leora stories of his younger days, times he had faced wild animals, harsh winters, and near-death experiences. Leora listened, fascinated, and shared her own stories of city life, technology, and distant worlds she had visited. "You've faced a lot," she said softly. "I don't know if I could do half of what you've done." Jace smiled. "You've already done more than most people would. You adapted to this place in days, not years. That's strength. That's human strength." Leora's eyes met his. "We make a good team, Jace. You and I, yes," he agreed, his voice steady. "We do." But peace on Arden 7 was never permanent. A few days later, the distant hum of engines returned, this time louder, closer, more organized. Jace's brow furrowed. "They're back, and this time they brought more." Leora stood beside him, unafraid. "Then we faced them, together." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the raiders appeared once more, larger in number and armed with stronger weapons. Jace and Leora took their positions, ready for another battle. But this time they were not just defending property. They were defending the life they had built, the bond they had formed, and the home they had claimed together. The first shots rang out as the raiders charged. Dust and sparks filled the air. Leora activated the energy shield, while Jace fired with precision. They moved in perfect sync, each anticipating the other's actions. One raider attempted to sneak behind the water tank. Leora noticed instantly, pointing and shouting to Jace. He turned, fired, and the raider stumbled, defeated. Another tried to cut the fence from the east ridge, only to be stopped by a tripwire and the reinforced barrier Jace had built. Hours passed, but the duo held firm. Their courage, intelligence, and teamwork overwhelmed the raiders. Finally, the leader called for retreat. "This isn't over," he shouted, disappearing over the ridge. Jace lowered his rifle, exhaustion washing over him. Leora joined him, her face smudged with dust but eyes bright with determination. "We did it," she said, smiling faintly. Jace nodded. "We did, together." That night, as they repaired damages and tended to rust, Jace felt a deep sense of pride. Leora was not just a survivor. She was a partner, an equal, and someone he could trust with his life. The frontier had tested them, and they had passed. The stars shone brightly above, and for the first time in a long while, Arden 7 felt safe. The homestead was theirs, the land theirs, and together they were unstoppable. And somewhere deep inside, both knew that this was only the beginning. The frontier had more challenges, more dangers, but also more opportunities for humans to shine, to adapt, and to prove that courage, intelligence, and heart could overcome anything. The sun rose slowly over Arden 7, casting long shadows across the plains. Jace, Merrick, and Leora had barely slept the night before, repairing damages from the raider attack and reinforcing their homestead. Their small property, now fortified and organized, seemed more like a fortress than a farm. Yet, despite the exhaustion, neither complained. They had survived together, and that gave them a quiet confidence that only those who faced true danger could understand. As Jace loaded supplies into the storage shed, Leora approached with a hollow device she had repaired. "Jace, look at this," she said, pointing at the glowing screen. He set down a sack of tools. "What is it?" "It's a communication from the Settler Council," Leora explained. "Apparently, word of our success against the raiders has reached them. They want to meet us, maybe even recognize our efforts officially." Jace frowned. "The Council? I thought they only dealt with big settlements, not lone homesteads." "They said human resilience deserves recognition," Leora said, her voice soft but filled with excitement. "They want to see how we survived and maybe share our methods with others." Jace chuckled, shaking his head. Well, I never thought I'd be famous for defending my land. Leora smiled. It's not fame. It's respect for what humans can do when we work together. And I think they might also be curious about us. How a man and a woman, barely knowing each other weeks ago, managed to survive and even thrive. Jace raised an eyebrow. Well, let's show them what humans can do. The journey to the council was long, taking them across miles of rugged terrain, through deep canyons and arid hills. They traveled in a small hover vehicle Jace had repaired, with Leora navigating using old star charts and newly mapped paths from the abandoned cabin they had discovered. During the journey, they talked more openly than ever before. Leora shared stories about the city she had left behind, her fascination with machines, and her desire to find purpose. Jace, in turn, shared tales of storms that tore across the plains, encounters with wild creatures, and the lessons the land had taught him over the years. "You've faced so much," Leora said, studying him with admiration. "I don't think I could have survived alone like you." Jace smiled, brushing dirt from his sleeve. "You don't know that. You've survived your own challenges in ways I wouldn't have imagined. Out here it's about skill, yes, but it's also about courage, determination, and heart. You have all of that." Leora's cheeks flushed slightly. "Thank you, Jace. I feel like I've finally found a place where I belong." They arrived at the council's outpost by evening. The building was large, metallic, and unlike any structure on the frontier. Council members greeted them politely, impressed by their resilience and the way they had defended their homestead. The leaders were curious, asking questions about their strategies, their teamwork, and how they had overcome the raiders with limited resources. "You've demonstrated remarkable ingenuity," one council member said, nodding. "Your combination of intelligence, courage, and adaptability is rare. Humans can achieve incredible feats when we use our minds and hearts together." Leora explained their methods, showing how small innovations, like the energy shield and improvised defenses, had allowed them to survive. Jace demonstrated the fortifications he had built, emphasizing human resourcefulness and problem-solving. The council was impressed. "This partnership, it is more than survival," another member said. "It is an example of human strength, cooperation, and leadership. You have shown that even the harshest environments can be tamed with ingenuity and teamwork." As they shared their story, Jace and Leora noticed that their bond was being observed, not just by the council, but by other settlers and travelers passing through. People admired their courage, their ability to face danger together, and the trust they had built. After the formal discussions, the council arranged a small festival to honor their achievements. Settlers from nearby regions came to see them, curious about the duo who had defended their homestead so bravely. The festival was filled with laughter, music, and stories shared under the alien stars. During the celebration, Jace and Leora walked through the crowd, observing the admiration in people's eyes. They realized that their story was more than just about survival. It was about hope, resilience, and the human spirit. Leora leaned closer to Jace, her voice soft. "It feels strange. People looking at us like we're heroes. I never expected this." Jace smiled, taking her hand gently. "It's not strange. We earned it together, and I'm proud of us, proud of what we've done." Her eyes met his, and for a moment the noise of the festival faded. There was only them, two people who had found trust, partnership, and something deeper in each other. That night, as the festival wound down, they walked to a quiet hill overlooking the outpost. The stars stretched endlessly above, brighter than any city lights could ever be. Leora leaned against Jace, feeling a sense of peace she had never known. "You know," she whispered, "I didn't think I'd find someone like you, someone who sees me, not just as a helper but as an equal." Jace wrapped an arm around her. "And I didn't think I'd find someone like you, someone brave, smart, and capable, someone I can trust with my life and my heart." Leora's hand found his. Jace, I love this place, but I think I also love you. Jace's chest tightened. I feel the same, Leora. I've felt it since the first week you arrived. You've changed my life, made this land feel like home, and made me feel alive again. They stood there, holding hands, the wind carrying the faint sounds of the festival below. For the first time, the future felt certain. They would face challenges, yes, but together, there was nothing they couldn't overcome. Over the next few days, the council invited them to participate in planning for other frontier settlements. Jace shared his knowledge of land, survival, and defense, while Leora introduced simple technological solutions that could improve water systems, energy use, and communication between settlements. Their ideas were practical, human-focused, and easy to implement, exactly what the Council needed to help settlers thrive across remote planets. Humans have an advantage, Leora said during a discussion with Council members. We adapt, we think, and we work together. Even in places others consider impossible to live, we find a way, Jace nodded. We survive because we don't give up. We respect the land, each other, and what it takes to keep going. That's the frontier way. By the end of their council visit, Jace and Leora had not only earned recognition, but had also inspired others. Settlers spoke of following their example, building homes and communities with intelligence, courage, and cooperation. Their story spread quickly across the frontier, becoming a symbol of human resilience and ingenuity. On the final evening before returning to their homestead, the council arranged a small ceremony. They awarded Jace and Leora a medallion symbolizing human courage and partnership, a recognition of their ability to survive, innovate, and inspire others in the most challenging conditions. Jace accepted the medallion, holding Leora's hand tightly. We didn't do this for recognition, he said. We did it because it was the right thing to do, because we wanted to survive together, Leora smiled. And we did, and now we can help others survive too. As they returned to their homestead, the journey felt different. The land seemed brighter, more alive, more promising. They knew that challenges would come, but they had also learned that human ingenuity, courage, and partnership could overcome even the harshest threats. Back at the homestead, they rebuilt some of the defenses damaged during their journey, added small improvements suggested by the council, and rested together under the familiar stars. Rust nickered softly, sensing the calm and strength in their home. Leora leaned against Jace. You know, this land, the frontier, it's harsh, but it's alive. It feels like it's rewarding us for what we've done. Jace smiled, brushing her hair back. It is, and we'll keep building, keep learning, and keep thriving, together. And in that moment, both knew that their bond was stronger than ever. The frontier had tested them, the council had recognized them, and the galaxy had taken notice. But what mattered most was what they had built between themselves: trust, respect, love, and a partnership that could face anything. As the night deepened, the stars stretched across the sky, a reminder that the universe was vast, full of challenges, and yet full of opportunities for those brave enough to claim them. Jace and Leora lay side by side on the porch, watching the endless expanse above, ready for whatever the future might bring. Because together, they were unstoppable. The first light of dawn stretched across the plains of Arden 7, painting the horizon in soft gold and pink. The air was crisp, carrying the familiar scents of wild grasses, earth, and the faint hum of distant wildlife. Jace, Merrick, and Leora stood on the porch of their homestead, gazing at the endless expanse before them. The past months had changed everything, both their lives and the land they called home. The homestead was thriving. The fences were strong, the water system fully restored and improved with Leora's clever adjustments, and the small garden had expanded into rows of vibrant crops. Russ grazed calmly nearby, occasionally looking up to nicker at them as if approving of the peace and order that now filled the property. Jace stretched, his eyes scanning the horizon. It's quiet for now, he said with a faint smile. Too quiet sometimes. Leora laughed softly, brushing her hand across the railing. You say that every morning, and every morning it's true, but it's peaceful. I like it. They moved together to the fields, checking crops and water lines. Leora carefully inspected the new irrigation system she had installed, while Jace reinforced the fences and mended a small section damaged by a recent windstorm. Their movements were seamless, almost instinctive, two people who had grown accustomed to working as one. You know, Leora said, wiping sweat from her brow, I never imagined I could live like this. Out here on the frontier, it's hard, but it feels right. Jace glanced at her, admiration in his eyes. You've made it right. You didn't just survive, you improved everything. This place wouldn't be the same without you. Leora's cheeks flushed slightly. We did it together, Jace. We both worked for it. By mid-morning, a small hover vehicle approached from the north. Jace tensed for a moment, then relaxed as he recognized the insignia on the side. The Settler Council. Representatives had come to visit again, curious to see how their advice had been applied and to learn from their experiences. The council members stepped out, smiling warmly as they observed the thriving homestead. Incredible, one said, his eyes sweeping over the crops, fences, and water systems. You've done exactly what we hoped. Your innovations and hard work have made this homestead a model for the frontier. Jace shrugged modestly. We just did what needed to be done. The land tells you what it wants, you just have to listen. Leora added, and work with it. We've learned that humans and land can thrive together when we respect each other, and when people work together. The council members nodded, impressed not just by the technical improvements but by the human partnership they observed. You've set an example, one said. Not just for survival but for life on the frontier. Courage, intelligence, and heart, humans can truly flourish anywhere. After a brief discussion, the council offered to support them in expanding the homestead, providing additional resources, tools, and access to frontier trade routes. Jace and Leora accepted, not for personal gain, but so they could help other settlers thrive as they had. More than just our home, Jace said later, speaking softly to Leora as they walked among the crops. We're building a future for others too. Leora nodded, her eyes shining. A place where humans can survive and flourish, where we can all work together. That's worth every effort. In the following weeks, life returned to a rhythm that balanced hard work with quiet joy. Jace and Leora rose with the sun, tending to crops, livestock, and equipment. Evenings were spent under the stars, sharing meals, stories, and dreams. Their bond had deepened into something undeniable, love born of respect, trust, and shared struggle. One evening, after a long day of reinforcing the new irrigation lines, Leora sat on the porch, gazing at the stars. Jace joined her, bringing a cup of herbal tea. You know, she said softly, I never imagined I'd find love out here, in a place so far from everything I knew. Jace smiled, sliding an arm around her shoulders. Neither did I, but I think this is how it's supposed to be. You find someone who can stand beside you through storms, through hardships, and you build something together. That's what matters. Leora leaned into him, her head resting against his shoulder. I'm glad I found you, Jace. You're my home, my partner, everything. Jace kissed her forehead gently. And you're mine, Leora. We've built this life together. Nothing can change that. The days passed peacefully, but the frontier was never without its challenges. One afternoon, a distant signal reached their homestead, an injured trader stranded near a rocky canyon. Without hesitation, Jace and Leora mounted Rust and rode to help, using their knowledge of the land to navigate the rough terrain. They found the trader, a young man who had fallen from a cliff while transporting supplies. Leora quickly assessed his injuries, stabilizing him with makeshift medical tools, while Jace carried him back to the homestead. By the next day, the trader was healthy enough to continue his journey, grateful for the help he had received. This is why we do it, Leora said later, watching the trader disappear over the horizon. Not just for ourselves, but for others. Humans helping humans. Jace nodded. The frontier tests you, but it also rewards you. Not just with survival, but with the chance to make a difference. As the weeks turned into months, their homestead became a hub for nearby settlers. People came to learn, to trade, and to share knowledge. Jace and Leora taught survival skills, crop management, and practical innovations, while Leora introduced simple technological tools to improve daily life. One evening, a small celebration was held, marking the completion of the new water reservoir. Settlers gathered around, sharing food and stories, laughter echoing across the plains. Jace and Leora stood together, holding hands, watching the community they had nurtured thrive. "You see," Jace said softly as they observed the scene, "this is what it's all about. Not just surviving, but building a future for ourselves and for others." Leora smiled, resting her head against his shoulder. "And we'll keep building together." As night fell, the stars emerged, brighter than ever against the clear sky. Leora and Jace lay on a blanket outside the homestead, gazing upward. The vastness of the universe stretched before them, full of possibilities, challenges, and wonders. "I used to think the galaxy was too big, too lonely," Leora whispered. "But now it feels like we belong here." "We belong together," Jace squeezed her hand. "The universe is vast, yes, but humans, we adapt, we endure, and we build connections. And when we do it together, nothing can stop us." Leora smiled, feeling the truth in his words. "I love this life, Jace. I love the frontier, our home, and I love you." Jace leaned closer, his voice steady and certain. "And I love you, Leora, more than anything. You've made this land a home, not just for us, but for every human who comes here after us." The months that followed were filled with both hard work and quiet joys. Seasons changed, crops grew and were harvested, and the homestead flourished. Jace and Leora faced challenges, storms, mechanical failures, and the occasional wandering wildlife. But they faced everything together, their bond unshakable. Rust, always by their side, seemed to sense the peace that now filled the homestead. The animals were calm, the land was productive, and the settlers they had helped were thriving. Their partnership had become an example of human resilience, ingenuity, and heart. One evening, as the sky turned a deep violet and the first stars appeared, Jace and Leora stood on the veranda of their flourishing homestead, holding hands. The distant mountains were bathed in the soft light of two moons, and the plains stretched endlessly before them. "We've come a long way," Jace said, his voice soft but filled with pride. "From strangers to partners to something more." Leora nodded, her eyes glistening. "And the journey isn't over. There will always be challenges, storms, and unknowns. But I know we'll face them together." Jace smiled, brushing a hand across her cheek. "Together, always." They stood in silence for a while, letting the peace of the frontier wash over them. The wind carried the scent of wild herbs and the hum of distant insects, a reminder that life continued, vibrant and alive. Finally, as the stars filled the sky, Leora leaned against Jace, her heart full of gratitude, love, and hope. "I never thought I'd find this," she whispered. "A home, a life, someone who believes in me, who trusts me." Jace kissed her forehead, holding her close. "You've found it, Leora, and we'll keep it. For as long as we live, this will be our home, our life, our love." And under the endless stars of Arden 7, two humans stood together, stronger than any challenge the frontier could throw at them. They had survived storms, raiders, isolation, and uncertainty, but most importantly, they had found each other. For Jace and Leora, the universe was vast and full of unknowns, but together they had everything they needed: love, courage, resilience, and a home among the stars. The frontier had tested them, shaped them, and rewarded them. And now, as the night sky stretched endlessly above, they knew one truth that nothing could take away: wherever humans go together, they can thrive. Because together, they were unstoppable.